Hey guys, Bowie here. So recently I started watching, of course, the news like many people. And actually that might not be accurate, just observed more of it than I normally would. And I know if you're like me, of course, you've been paying attention to the recent events in the world. But then I had this thought, there might be a chance that as we're watching more of the news, that our bodies could have emotional reactions that minimize our ability to actually resist what's been presented to us as a threat to our well-being, right? And so it becomes a matter of the news versus our immune system. But don't just, of course, take my word for that. I want to walk you through a few things that I think are worth thinking about. So I know we watch the news, right? In order for us to be informed, know what's happening, and take precautions, right, to take care of ourselves. But what we sometimes aren't aware of is that there are reactions that we have to what we are watching and what we are hearing. And these reactions, to be specific, are energetic, right? Emotional reactions to what we're hearing. And those emotional reactions put us in states of fear. And when you're in a state of fear, there's not, in some cases, a lot of good that can come from that over a prolonged period of time, right? Sometimes fear, of course, serves its purpose to keep you alive, but what happens as a function of that to the body is what we don't want. So you may also be in a position where you have you have your reaction to the news is one of indifference, right? As in you're able to watch it without getting emotionally caught up in the hype and the sensationalism of what's going on. And then there's, in some instances, maybe in another window of time, what you hear in the news has you really fall in love with life and what's happening and what's possible for you and the people in your life and your environment. And, that's also possible too. But in this window of time that we currently are in, chances are that's not the case, right? And you're not necessarily being fed information that inspires you with hope about what's possible. And that's where the problem begins. Chances are, as you're watching the news, you're exposed, or you start to fall into that cycle of fear and stress, and you put yourself in a position where you may not be as capable, right, of defending yourself using your own biological mechanism of defense. So fear kicks in, and stress is present, and all of a sudden those other states are no longer available to you. So now what do? Well, let me walk you through the process of how this plays out. So when you're watching the news, something happens. You're looking at the internet, television, whatever your news source is, and of course, it kicks off a cycle of starting to feel stressed. That process of you perceiving something as a threat to your well-being, right, is referred to as stressful. But the body has a particular mechanism to prepare you biologically to survive. And the system that it uses in order for that to be possible is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, right? It's a system. And this allows you to begin to have hormones secreted throughout, through your body that tells the body, hey, this is what you got to do to survive this, right? And it kicks you into a state where fight or flight stress hormones get released so that your body is prepared to do whatever it needs to do to survive. Cell growth also slows down, in some cases, of course, stops as a function of this, as it happens over time. And your immune system, right, because of the way that your blood flow in your body starts to process, it's processing to keep you alive and on the run versus trying to keep you immunized, right, and flowing in a way that keeps your immune system working. So now that your immune system is down, right, in the name of survival, that's actually your greatest chance of getting sick, right? Especially if you're not running from an actual predator. So last but not least, cognitive impairment starts to happen, which means instead of using your frontal lobes of your brain to really think clearly and think precisely, you fall into the pattern of reflex behavior, which is of course designed to help you survive. And last but not least, your life begins to shut down, right? You begin to withdraw. And for some, this is what it starts to look like and feel like. Life shuts down. And so bringing it back, it really begins with what we observe and how we process what we're watching, right? And the irony of this is that while we're watching something that's supposed to be helping us to at least be alert enough and responsible enough, supposed to be, we might be putting ourselves in a position to get sick from something else that would then put us in a position to get sick from what we're being cautioned about, right? There's some irony there. So that being said, when this happens and you're watching the news, your immune system is no longer, and you're in a state of fear, right, and feeling stressed, your immune system is no longer really, working on your behalf because you're in that state of fear. And when you're in that state of fear, of course, stress is present. And now it comes down to, well, what are we going to do about it? Well, to begin, of course, you want to eliminate the fear, eliminate the stress, and start to notice your reactions such that you can be conscious. And as you're conscious, you can get to a place where you're not swayed by what you hear and what you read, right? That doesn't mean that you don't care. You just don't allow yourself to get caught up in the emotional hype that then puts you in that position of going through that fear stress cycle. And the next thing actually that's also important is actually that you begin to develop some habits, right? Habits that nurture and support you in being grounded and conscious of what's happening, such that, you can move into the direction of an energy of love and at the, deeper cellular level, right? Be open to life, right? That's what the attraction element is there, right? You're really drawn out of yourself to really grow and thrive. Along with that, what's necessary to maintain that state are tools, things that you can go to that you whether it's in the form of apps or a planner or a ritual or routine, things that really allow you to be supported in this process are important, which then leads us to practices, right? So the practices are the things that, working with those tools, enable you to really be grounded, such that you don't have to put yourself in that state that makes you vulnerable. And lastly, of course, community, right? It's important that you have really people that you are bonding with or connecting with in a way that really support you, right? And nourish your aspirations in whatever way that they play out. So community is actually really, really key. And one of the last things I want to share about is also awareness. Really being aware of this particular pattern as it shows up for you in whatever way that it shows up. I mean, it doesn't have to be in the news. Sometimes it could be a conversation with someone, or someone who, always has bad news to share, right? Just being aware of what those traps are for you is also incredibly critical for you to really grow and thrive and strengthen your immune system, right? Such that you can be the healthiest version of yourself that you can be. So that said, I want to thank you for watching. If this has been of extraordinary use and value to you, I would love for you to like this video, and of course, without a doubt, subscribe to the channel so you can get more content like this if this has been of value to you. And of course, more than ever, share the love and give people an opportunity to perhaps have another perspective to their assumptions, right, to consider. Thank you again for watching, and don't forget, there's resources and links below for you to take action and support yourself through this challenging time. But it doesn't have to be that way if you have the right tools, the right habits, the right practices, and community to support you. Thanks again for watching.